You're only loyal Super Earth citizens. The 10th Kirsche Crusade has begun, ma'am. Speaking of which, we're speaking about how shitty California was, and I have time to open this motherfucking tab. We have time for a little bit of tabbage. Which piss fox are we talking about? All of them. Did not. The chat union has decided to the Kirsche. The chat help doesn't get a vote. It's the 90s and it's time for clacks? I don't know what clacks is. Motherfucking San Francisco appoints first non-citizen to serve on elections commission. Kelly Wong, who came to the US in 2019 from China and isn't legally allowed to vote, will be overseeing and creating policy for San Francisco Department of Elections. Wong is an immigrant rights advocate who wants to educate other immigrants who don't speak English about the voting process. Imagine that people who don't want to integrate by doing the least and learn the national language will be deciding on the future of an American city. That's a little fucking crazy that someone who legally cannot vote in our elections is being appointed to a board for overseeing the Department of Elections. Maybe I'm just sort of some kind of anti-China bigot. Maybe I'm just racist, but I don't think this should be happening. She's literally a Chinese spy, literally and unironically. Why is San Francisco so determined to destroy the nation? I don't know, dude. Holy clown show. Like, how do you get to this point? And how do you think this is a good idea? And someone linked, wait, it's even worse than I thought. This is her LinkedIn. She definitely learned from the best. And her LinkedIn says, Kelly Wong, San Francisco Elections Commissioner, Immigrant Rights Community, Advocate at Chinese for Affirmative Action. And her about says, born and raised in Hong Kong, I moved to the US in 2019 and finished a master's degree from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. I've devoted my career to championing immigrant rights and equity and inclusion. Prior to graduate school, I worked closely with victims of trafficking, migrant domestic workers, and refugees in Hong Kong while working at Fair Employment Agency, International Organization for Migration, and UNHCR. I don't know what this acronym stands for. I am currently working at Chinese for Affirmative Action, which is the fiscal sponsor of Stop AAPI Hate Campaign. AAPI is Asian American Pacific Islander. To provide legal services and advocate for low-income AAPI immigrants in San Francisco. Besides my capstone paper on exploring racial microaggressions toward Chinese immigrant women in Greater Boston during COVID, why? As someone who grew up in Boston, I saw so many Chinese people when I was younger. I was around tons of fucking Asians. My town of like 99.9% whiteness, the only non-white family was a Japanese family. Like, what racial microaggressions when they're literally everywhere? I didn't see a black person except for on TV until I was almost a teenager. What does she mean by this? Back to Chinese spies in California. Okay. My capstone paper on exploring racial microaggressions toward Chinese immigrant women in Greater Boston during COVID. How did we tangent from this to foreskin? I'm confused. Was published in Kogiashio Press. Guy?
Stop molesting Polt fan with sus question.
He consented to be molested with sus questions, just not with hands, okay? That's what he has a wife for. Are you ready, pretty lady? No, you're a pretty lady. I'm finishing up talking about a Chinese spy, and then yeah. Qualitative exploration to capture varied experiences of racial microaggressions directed at Chinese immigrant women before and during COVID, and investigate different levels of microaggressions based on socioeconomic status, age, and other characteristics. She sounds lovely. Help. Petition to unload at least half of the US nuclear arsenal onto California. Can we just cut them off into the ocean already? I feel like that would be better. Your brain just fried, and not in a good way. Oh, the Spoon Man got to witness the tangents in real time. And there's 2 articles here, and I'd like to point out the interesting dichotomy between these 2 articles. Guys, every million, thank you for the 1 month member. I'm just a cold southern day, Kirsche. Keep up the quality content. It makes good work noise to distract you. Hell yeah, I make the noises! A woman who doesn't even have the ability to legally vote in the United States was sworn into San Francisco's election committee on Wednesday. Northern California public news site KKED reported Thursday that Hong Kong immigrant Kelly Wong is believed to be the first non-citizen appointed to the commission. After San Francisco passed a measure in 2020, removing the citizenship requirement to serve on city boards, commissions, and advisory bodies. And I remember covering this when this happened and saying it was a bad idea then, but then wondering how anyone would even allow a non-citizen to be appointed to anything if they legally cannot vote. But apparently, Clown World continues to give in ways that I did not ask for presents. Wong, an immigrant rights activist who came to the U.S. from Hong Kong in 2019 to pursue a graduate degree, was sworn in at a ceremony in San Francisco City Hall. And also, does nobody see the issue with an immigrant rights advocate as an activist being appointed to an elections board? Does nobody see the issue with that? I gotta throw the whole California away. Board of Supervisors President Aaron Peskin conducted a ceremony while dozens of people gathered to commemorate the occasion. Wong was unanimously voted in by San Francisco's Board of Supervisors. She spoke to KKED about overcoming the doubt she had to achieve the position. I think we all know that she was appointed there purposely. She didn't get voted in. She didn't earn the position. They wanted someone to subvert the elections, and that's why she's there. There are always voices inside my head like, you can't do it! You're not competent. You're an immigrant. This is not your country. That's not true. If I can do it, you can do it. The voices inside her head were unironically correct. She is an immigrant, and this is not her country. She legally cannot vote. Why is she handling oversight of elections? Peskin had high praise for Wong, especially her ability to engage and enfranchise people and help non-citizens become citizens. I'm very impressed by her commitment to enfranchising people who rarely vote, to educating people about the voting process, and to bring in non-citizens and get them the tools that they need to become citizens. In the interview with the outlet prior to her swearing in, Wong talked about the importance of getting immigrants, especially those who can't speak English, informed about the voting process. I don't think I want people who don't really care to do the bare minimum of learning how to speak English in the United States to be voting in our elections. People who have English as a first language are already mal-informed enough when they vote. So I feel like this would just be making it worse. Also, yeah, you bring up a good point. If she cares about the non-citizens becoming citizens, why hasn't she done it herself? Why hasn't she gone through the process? I've seen how language and cultural barriers prevent immigrants with limited English proficiency from fully exercising their right to vote. What does she mean by that? Even if you have full English even if you're like a UK citizen with first language English skills, that doesn't entitle you to vote in US elections. What does she mean by this? Is there a way to do voter outreach that is not just about translation, but can touch on political education while maintaining neutrality and impartiality in elections? The woman who just got appointed to an elections board as a foreign state agent talking about neutrality and impartiality in elections. I wish this could be a funny joke. I wish this was a Family Guy skit. But I don't like that this is real life. This is how commies get elected in South America. And it's in California, so like nobody's gonna fucking do anything about it, right? And Malcolm Liang, thank you for the 2. Is there... Jesus, though. She mentioned her own struggles as a foreigner with navigating voting systems, allowing her to empathize with those she wants to help. Then why aren't you a fucking citizen? Why have you not become a citizen? Even though I'm fluent in English, I still encounter challenges in navigating a new system, let alone participating in political conversation and activities. Wong commented how she discovered that there isn't an equivalent term for the word reparations in Cantonese or Mandarin. This is just a guess. But I feel like if you, as an average Chinese citizen, went to a Chinese government official and you started talking about giving reparations to those who aren't Chinese and are disadvantaged in the Chinese mainland, you would probably just never be seen again. I'm gonna be real. They would probably just spirit you away on the spot. Like... One Cantonese-speaking Chinese immigrant in the city told the outlet through an interpreter, "Whenever I experience a language barrier or difficulties around access, I can come to Kelly for help." San Francisco Election Commission President Robin Stone recently told Fox News Digital, "I support the Board of Supervisors' authority and decision to appoint Kelly Wong to the Elections Commission. What's more, as public officers of the city, we respect the law and the will of San Francisco voters, who removed the citizenship requirement for commissioners in 2020.
I don't want to mod it yet either.
This is dangerous, dude. This is dangerous as fuck.
Haha, Western Devil. We in your base.
They're winning tribes, dude. We need to capture that flag back. This is just like... I feel, since Canada already went through the issues of Chinese nationals and Chinese companies buying up real estate in areas of their country, that's probably what's about to happen here. They are going to exploit the fuck out of the system without becoming citizens, with the help of this woman who now oversees an election committee, and they're going to buy up real estate at prices that Americans couldn't even fathom things being at in 2008. You have no chance to survive? Make your time. China already owns huge amounts of farmland in the US. Why? Why? I have another article on this woman, but I do not have time to read it, chat. I will have to read it at another point in time, because while this Fox News article gives you all of the information about what's going on with her, Medium wrote a glowing article on how this woman is breaking barriers and showing other non-citizens that they too can hold seats of political power in a country they hold no ties to and don't care about. Where is the Chinese agent thing that chat was talking about? Deputy Chief of Staff Kathy Hochul, who was a DEI officer for Cuomo, got outed as a DEI agent. Or sorry, Chinese agent. I don't know why I said DEI. I got DEI on the brain, man. So let's see. New York is controlled by Chinese spy. Somehow this doesn't surprise me, because, like, once again, California, a few months ago, we read about California putting a Chinese national who doesn't even have U.S. citizenship appointed to a role where they will be managing immigration status. It's like, what could possibly go wrong? Honestly.
Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we're going to talk about the story out of the state of New York, because you have somebody who was indicted, who worked in the
I see he stole Gundam's producer.
Levels of New York State government, who for nearly a decade is being accused of being a spy for the People's Republic of China and for the CCP in particular. And not only was she crafting policy that negatively impacted residents of the state of New York, because of her level of
Fucking
access
Stu.
to New York State government, because of her level of influence, and because of the timeline in which this campaign was running. She actually impacted policy in every single state in the union. This particular spy made your life worse if you're a resident of the United States of America, and I'm going to go beyond the headlines and explain to you exactly why that is the case. But
Well,
before we
isn't
get
that-
into that, I want to thank
Isn't that her job, right? Like, as a Chinese spy, isn't it her job to make life worse for all of us? And shouldn't it theoretically be the job of our politicians to, I don't know, prevent them from doing that? Again, it's just wild how much U.S. politicians hate U.S. citizens. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Instant horror! True.
You having a stroke?
The amount of people that actually believe the government has their best interest at heart, it's like, how do you move through life with these thoughts? What is it like to think that the government actually gives a shit about you?
everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money.
Young
Okay?
Turk jump scare!
I think, you know, when people say diversity and inclusion, I think everybody agrees, or most people generally agree, that it's a good thing, right? But I think right now we also need to bring in the word equity, right? Diversity is when you say that there's, you know, many different types of people.
So I was right when I misspoke and said DEI earlier, eh? Hey?
With different backgrounds, and they're all, you know, invited to the table. Inclusion is when, you know, we include all of their ideas, but equity is when we make sure that all of the people who are at the table have equal access to making sure that their ideas and their thoughts are heard. And unfortunately, I think some of the statistics that you quoted is that we don't have that much leadership. Or
shouldn't it set off red flags in like any functioning adult's brain? Like, even if you've been propagandized to believe, like, a DEI good, yes, I love DEI, num 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 num, feed me more, I hate myself, right? Like, even if you've been conditioned for that, when you see a Chinese spy who has the interests of a communist government and not you as an American, shouldn't that set off some red flags in your brain and be like, why is this Chinese spy operative saying that thing I think is good is also good? Like, shouldn't that make you a little bit questiony, in my opinion? Because, like, the communists in China would probably just skin alive the communists in the United States. I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't think our communists could hope to hold a candle to the brutality that the communists in China would enact. I feel like you're listening to the Mexican president. People don't know how to question or think for themselves anymore. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's by design. All right, like, you're not allowed to teach critical thinking anymore.
represents.
So the woman at the center of this is called Linda Sun. Now, if you search Linda Sun on YouTube.com or on Google, you will get a YouTuber with 1.2 million subscribers.
Jesus.
This is not the person that we're talking about, so
Okay.
please kindly add Hochul or add New York to your search results so you can get some of this absolutely crucial information. And a lot of the local news media...
I'm kind of glad he said that, because I'm sure a lot of people would have gone after that other random woman and been like, "You're the spy!"
is on the more salacious, scandalous portions of this story. Let me give you a little bit of a
Ooh,
bite
scandalous.
from my local CBS affiliate, which honestly, comparatively, has more detailed information as compared to other local news reporting.
And a former aide to Governor Hochul and former Governor Cuomo charged tonight with acting as an illegal agent to the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party.
The indictment, more than 60 pages long,
Holy
alleging she and
shit.
her husband gained millions of dollars in financial benefits to buy luxury properties and fancy cars.
So common themes from the reporting that you will hear about is the $4.1 million house in Manhasset, is the fact
What the fuck? Literally giving spies houses now. No wonder New York is fucked.
that they owned a bunch of different various luxury cars.
64-page only VTuber Google Docs are longer, this fucking guy.
and of course the Hawaii property, as well as other methods of compensation. And in fact, one of the most hilarious methods of compensation that this woman received was a particular style of salted duck that was prepared for her by a chef well known in the Chinese Communist Party and shipped to her parents.
Really, one of the most interesting details in this indictment is that the kickbacks also included a delicacy, a dish called Nanjing salted duck. This is a regional specialty in China, and apparently prosecutors say that she was given 16 meals of salted duck. These were delivered and they were prepared by a Chinese...
Can you imagine having the money to like call up a Chinese chef and be like, yes, can I have some of those salted ducks? I'll send my private jet to pick them up. It's okay. I know it'll be about an hour delivery. Don't worry about it. I got the money. Like, what? I'm over here complaining about the like extra $24 DoorDash makes me pay. As these fucking guys live in a different reality. Holy shit.
Government's personal chef. So this was all done, you know, we were used to hearing about gold bars or money, but apparently this was kind of a delicious side benefit, a kickback of salted duck involved.
Now look, it is just objectively funny that a Chinese spy was being paid in part in duck. But one of the things that you miss when you focus on the salacious is crucial details that are left out in these local news segments. For instance, we were told that this woman's husband, who by the way is one of the people that money was being funneled to on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party for this particular spy, owns a liquor store in Flushing, Queens.
Linda Sun in federal court charged in a 65-page indictment with using various positions in New York state government to further the goals of the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party in exchange for funds to live a lavish lifestyle, including a multi-million-dollar Manhasset mansion and a fleet of fancy cars, including a Ferrari. Husband Chris Hughes, the owner of a Flushing, Queens liquor store, was also hit with a host of charges, including money laundering and bank fraud.
Now, this is in fact true, but is not the extent of it, and it actually
I love fucking courtroom paintings. Everyone always looks so goofy. Man, ducks are tasty. I've actually never eaten duck before. She looks horrifying in the courtroom sketch. Well, she is a commie, so it only makes sense to draw her with no soul.
Not the primary mechanism in which money was funneled to this particular family. The actual mechanism was a seafood exporting corporation that was supposedly shipping lobsters to the Chinese mainland. But in fact, this was utilized as a method to funnel millions upon millions of dollars into the coffers of this particular family.
The couple's $4.1 million home on the North Shore of Long Island was raided by the FBI 6 weeks ago, agents carrying out boxes of records. The indictment included several pictures of Linda Sun with Chinese officials, like this one from September 2019 in Beijing.
Okay, wait a minute, hold on. How come the Chinese officials' faces are blurred out? It's not like they're children. Why are they blurred? Is this to like keep them from getting executed by their own government? Like I don't why are they blurred? They're fast. I'm gonna guess they receive a slap on the wrist. I mean, probably. We know none of this shit ever gets punished, actually, unfortunately. What the fuck is inside the house? The purgatory? What do you mean? The whole thing is a psyop?
Celebrating the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China.
So while I do have criticisms for a lot of the coverage of this particular story, this CBS segment is better than others. Right there you found out what a lot of people are reporting, which is that she was denying meetings to different various Taiwanese officials, but on top of that is alleged to have forged Governor Kathy Hochul's signature on official letterhead inviting Chinese Communist Party officials to New York, which ultimately ended up getting them visas, which ultimately ended up bringing more and more spies to our country.
Holy shit! I wonder, I mean, she's obviously going to claim she didn't know, but I want to know if Kathy Hochul knew about that. Right, like did she know about the forged signatures? That's crazy. That is like actual movie tier espionage, but in real life. Probably, of course she did. I mean, she's obviously going to claim that she didn't, but like, I want to know, man. I want to know. How wouldn't she know? I don't know. Right, she's the victim. We all know she's going to claim she's a victim. She could be like, oh, the Chinese spy, she fooled me too. I had no idea.
were operating as agents of this foreign hostile power.
She was also charged with forging Hochul's signature on a letter inviting Chinese officials to come to New York, which they used to get visas, changing the messaging of state officials regarding issues of importance to the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party, obtaining official state proclamations for Chinese officials without proper authorization, and violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which requires individuals to register with...
Do we have, like... I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if they're spies, right? Because they're not real names. How many spies do you think she's ushered into the country? That again, that Chinese citizen that's been placed into a position of overseeing immigration in California, that's probably a spy too. And California's actually dumb enough to just be like, why would you need to be an American citizen to oversee immigration? That would be silly. That would be silly. We'll never know. Peng Yang, thank you for the 2. Hi, Kirsche. You get a question that Pippa couldn't answer. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. What? I don't know if I want to know your question.
The Department of Justice if they are involved in political or advocacy work for foreign governments.
However, it is important to get into the details because a lot of the Hochul stuff is very interesting and compelling, and it shows lack of security and all that. But what's more crucial is what happened during the Cuomo years, because she did hold a bunch of different positions. Let me highlight a few of them. Prior to her roles in the Hochul administration, Sun served a number of roles in the Cuomo administration, including a high-ranking post in the state's economic development branch, involved in organizing international trade missions, according to her LinkedIn account. Sun's alleged influence operation campaign lasted from 2015 to 2023, and the indictment says she regularly communicated with Chinese government officials about her efforts to promote China's reputation in the Empire State.
She is charged with blocking representatives of the Taiwanese government from having access to high-level New York State officials. No meeting, please, she wrote to an assemblyman who wanted the governor to meet with Taiwanese officials. Kindly decline. Do not want her to wade into this China-Taiwan sensitivity.
Now, as
Isn't that her choice, though? Right? Like, just because China denies that Taiwan is real doesn't mean the U.S. should be denying that Taiwan is real? Come on. Come on, lady. Some bullshit. She even writes in an accent. Oh, my God.
stated in the local news segment, her work often involved ensuring neither Cuomo nor Hochul's offices recognized Taiwan as an official country. For decades, the People's Republic of China has not recognized the government of Taiwan and has refused to maintain diplomatic relations with countries that do. Now, like I said,
this is actually silly. This is so silly, man. HAW, nice, thank you. Thank you, TDXNYC, for the 100 biddies.
Said she was limiting contact between high-ranking state officials and Taiwanese representatives while relaying that information to Chinese officials. When the Taiwanese government donated 200,000 masks to New York during the COVID-19 pandemic in April of 2020, Sun allegedly ensured Cuomo's office didn't publicly acknowledge the donation and kept a Chinese official apprised.
Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. Is that when Cuomo was asking for more masks, or like saying they didn't have any, and then we found like pallets upon pallets of masks in a basement somewhere? Is that what they're referring to? Am I crazy? Do you guys remember that? And then Cuomo was just like, I didn't know these were here, and everyone was like, yeah, sure you didn't. Fuck off, you lying cunt. Maybe he actually didn't. If this woman was purposefully hiding them because they came from fucking Taiwan. What the fuck? I thought that was the respiratory machines. I know that there were like multiple instances of Cuomo being like, we don't have enough of these. Then people being like, but what about all of these ones? It's too long ago for my brain to remember exactly. They could have been the respiratory machines. Maybe they weren't masks. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but it's like, I remember something about that, dude. Taiwan mask, no good. No meat, please. China #1. They were sending the mask back to China. Oh my god. It was both.
At another point, she acknowledged almost having a heart attack when a Cuomo press release referred to Taiwan as a country, which she immediately removed. Quote, I certainly...
Holy, like, they're just blatantly doing it. How did it take so long to catch them? I don't understand, man.
have managed to stop all relationships between the Taiwanese Economic and Cultural Office and the state, Sun wrote to a Chinese official in 2019, according to the indictment. I have denied all requests from their office. Quote, I know and do appreciate your help, the official responded. With us now in the political section, you are the most important hub for connecting us with Cuomo and his team. Now look, while a lot of this stuff is definitely bad,
I wonder how much he would have just been willing to go along with this shit if she had just informed him, like, hey, I'm a spy and I've been using you, but like, would you like in on this? I feel like Cuomo would have been like, yeah, fuck it, I hate America. And Cuomo is such an ass and Hochul is just as bad, pretty much. You think he didn't know? I mean, he probably knew, right? He probably knew, but they're posing it as like we're just finding this out now.
Okay, I do want to hear how slavery porn is S tier. Let's hear it.
Okay, well let's hear it from the Chinese lady.
the fact that she worked in hiring positions specifically related to economic development and thus was orienting New York policy and the New York economy to be more dependent on the Chinese, definitely a huge problem. And of course, what she was doing to the Taiwanese Culture Office, also a disaster. But one of the things that you may have glossed over is the fact that Governor Andrew Cuomo did not give credit to the Taiwanese government for donating 200,000 masks, PPE, which was crucially needed during the course of the pandemic. And this is what really needs to get focused. All of the different various ways that this particular woman influenced New York state policy during the pandemic. In fact, there is more in this article and in the indictment that I think is absolutely crucial for you to understand. So in March of 2020,
I think during the pandemic was like the perfect time for Chinese spies to try and integrate themselves, because everybody was focused on, you can't blame China. You shouldn't blame China, even though it was released from a lab in China. You gotta hug a Chinese person. Don't be racist, you bigot. Like, it was so fucking weird. So it makes sense that so many Chinese spies could have come over and just integrated incredibly well, and like nobody would have fucking said anything about it. Nancy Pelosi said that in particular, which is funny since she ignored all the COVID restrictions personally. True and real.
Sun arranged for a Chinese government official to surreptitiously listen to a conference call of New York State government leaders who are discussing how to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and a rise in hate crimes against Asians, according to the indictment. Now, the reason—
But who was doing the hate crimes? Who was doing the Asian hate crimes? And also, goddamn, she's letting fucking Chinese officials listen in on officials in America? Hey, yo! How is this happening in current year?
That this and other COVID-19 related stuff from the indictment really stuck out to me is because I happen to have a very detailed memory of the pandemic of the year 2020.
God, I wish I was just like him. Oh my god, please. You have a detailed memory? My memory doesn't exist. Together we could be unstoppable.
And who was, in fact, the most important person in the Democratic Party, the most important governor in the nation, and that, of course, was Andrew Cuomo. And in 2020, this woman is having the CCP listen in on the strategy calls where they're trying to shift the focus away from China's responsibility in unleashing this virus onto the world to a campaign against anti-Asian crimes. And you guys will all remember that this is the direction that the Democratic Party went to because this was the best way in their minds to attack the Orange Man.
He's getting married? I'm not talking about a relationship. I'm talking to like a news tag team.
More crucially, the reason the Democratic Party went in this direction is because during this period of time, Andrew Cuomo was the de facto leader of the Democratic Party. You guys remember, he was on TV almost every night with Chris Cuomo, getting praised by all these different Democrats, and other Democrats across the country, in order to get that praise, would copy his policies. Now, this had absolutely devastating and cascading impacts on our nation, because you guys will remember that social media companies would actually ban people from talking about the virus originating from Wuhan as misinformation and disinformation, because that came from the evil orange man, President Trump.
And remember when you would get fucking silenced and shadow banned and shit for even suggesting that it was from a laboratory? They were like, no, it was from a wet market. Someone ate a bat. It was from the market. And then, you know, a little while later, they were just like, you know, it actually came from a lab. No, we will not apologize to anyone we silenced or suppressed or who got in trouble for suggesting that it came from a laboratory back then when we were trying to promote that it wasn't. You know, we dabble in a little bit of a misinformation campaign.
And they were all about elevating reliable, authoritative sources. And since those sources took their messaging directly from the Democratic Party, and Andrew Cuomo was the leader, at least symbolically, of the Democratic Party at that point in time, this woman was crafting censorship policy in the United States of America on behalf of the CCP during the most crucial time in our recent history with the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, the proof in the pudding is in the taste, and this indictment shows us over and over and over again that this woman was constantly changing language, constantly altering information as a method to promote the CCP, to suppress Taiwan, and to, of course, suppress subversive American candidates in favor of the Chinese government.
And he brings up a really good point when he earlier said that it affects you even if you don't live in New York. Because like he just said, if Democrats were circling the wagons, if they were suppressing people who were saying what actually happened, or even theorizing what was more probable than someone eating a bat at a wet market, and this woman from the CCP was trying to control the narrative from New York, where Cuomo was making a lot of speeches about COVID, and they were saying only believe trusted sources, and he was cited many, many times. You basically just got a little tiny taste of what CCP propaganda's like. We were all Chinese out of our minds for a while there. I remember saying, well, at least they're not welding us into our apartments yet, like in China. I'm sure we'll get there one day.
Included several pictures of Linda Sun with Chinese officials, like this one from September 2019 in Beijing, celebrating the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China.
And this thing was so obvious from the jump. This woman is in photo after photo with Chinese Communist Party officials. She would go over there.
It shows how stupid humans can be. It shows how stupid the average American citizen is, just like eating up this slop. Again, like someone mentioned earlier, Cuomo probably knew who this woman was. It's like, I don't know how much I could believe that Cuomo was also, like, just completely fooled and didn't have any idea that she was a CCP asset.
Multiple times. Again, the visa fraud, bringing in more and more spies, forging Governor Hochul's signature, the overall influence campaign, the fact that we have all these different various communications where she shows that she's working double time to boot Taiwan out. All of this is clear, and she also got Governor Kathy Hochul to send propaganda messages over for China to use.
Oh god, the ones eating up the slop are the midwits who believe that they're informed, which is the sad thing. Don't question anything, just believe government. They're here to help. Why would you ask questions? Why would you ask questions? Just believe popular narrative. That's what makes you a true revolutionary fighting the man.
For their various different methods, just as proof of the fact that they were completely in their pocket. And we have that video for you, so let me play it for you. Hey guys, editing Sean here. So I was going to show you the clip that I promised that I was going to show you, but it turns out after I uploaded the first copy of this video that clip contains copyrighted music. Because of that, I'm not going to actually insert the clip in here. It's linked in the description. It is both in the Gothamist article under where it says sources.
God, I hate it when they do that.
And I have the original video from Facebook also linked so you can use that. So whatever floats your boat, check it out. It's kind of goofy and it looks like the image that I'm showing you, but the music is just overwhelming and I can't do anything about it. And I've tried multiple times to give you multiple cuts of this clip. Now look, it is an absolute disaster for our country and for our nation. The fact that this woman had this much influence in New York State government, especially during the pandemic time, is devastating for everybody out
and
there
real
in the audience who had to
and
live.
if she was there in New York during the pandemic, How many other spies do you think have wormed their way into positions in the government? How many more out there do you think there probably are? And how many more out there are about to become people in positions of government, like that lady in California, because of the ones that got here and were able to bring in more on forged visas? Help.
Under policies that were basically copied from Andrew Cuomo that were heavily influenced by the CCP. For all these different various news outlets that were actually trying to get at the truth and get at the origin of the virus. For all these people who wanted to talk about this oppression and censorship, understand that this woman was influencing the man that was the most important authoritative source according to all these social media accounts at that absolutely crucial time. And one of the ways that, of course, she got away with it, one of the big things that, of course...
How did he even become the authoritative source of the Democratic Party? Like, who the actual fuck is even he? Right? Like, how did he manage to become, like, some all-knowing wellspring that everybody should pay attention to? I don't know, that feels a little weird to me. He talked good. Why didn't they just roll out Obama again? Right? Like, money. I don't know, that's a little weird, because Trump was president. Yeah, but who the fuck is Cuomo? He's just like some fucking guy in New York, right? Like, any other governor could have stepped up. Why pick him specifically? Especially when he had a Chinese asset who was helping him along. Obama seems sick of the Dems. New York was the first place it spread a lot? Oh, man. I mean, I guess I can see that as a reasoning, but that just because your state is overrun with the coof, I don't think that really makes you an expert, right? They wanted to position a new presidential candidate, so no Obama. He did a really bad job if they were trying to do that. Cuomo's dad was governor too, and super corrupt. Oh, Jesus. He had a brother. I also remember Chris Cuomo. Did you guys know that the Treasury Department offers subsidized mortgages specifically designed to help non-citizens buy houses? This is used by foreign criminals to stop drug operations. Yes. We discussed California's policy on that a few streams ago.
She was promoting was DEI.
But equity is when we make sure that all of the people who are at the table have equal access to making sure that their ideas and their thoughts are heard. And unfortunately, I think some of the statistics that you quoted is that we don't have that much leadership.
And why would a Chinese asset be promoting DEI? None of the Chinese operate on any DEI benefits, but they know that DEI weakens everything in the American system, and they know that the American system is going to fall completely apart if America falls to communism. This is beneficial for them and their interests if DEI keeps marching along, as DEI is also a global policy that other people want to have implemented. Really gets the noggin jogging.
Now look, a lot of people will point out that DEI and a bunch of these different ideologies are Marxist ideologies, so it makes perfect sense for the Chinese.
Oh my god, it feels so good when I hear other people talking about DEI being Marxist ideology. Oh my god, please. Please. So many times people are just like, how is it Marxist? You shouldn't use that language, Kirsche. It is literal classic Marxism with a little bit of sprinkling of Mao's cultural revolutionary policies in there. I was like, fuck, dude. It makes you feel less crazy when you have other people saying the same thing, you know? I was just like, fuck, dude.
Government to promote it, but the fact of the matter is, even though that is a perfectly sensible ideological motivation for promoting these kind of things, it goes beyond that, because this woman for nearly a decade was enriching herself. Her husband, who is believed to only own a liquor store by many of the people surrounding them, was driving super high-end luxury cars, owned a $4 million house, and her family was being enriched, and all these other people were being brought into this country and put on the payroll of this particular scheme, and that went without suspicion. And one of the reasons why is because a lot of people believed that it would be evil white racism to be suspicious of somebody who's constantly lobbying on behalf of China.
How dare you question someone if they're not a straight white male? You can't question this strong, stunning minority woman. That'd make you a bigot.
Chinese herself, and obviously should have raised a bunch of different red flags. And no, I'm not talking about the CCP red flags that she was raising over the New York State Capitol during the time that she was influencing our government. But in reality, much in the same way that during the pandemic, when we should have been focusing on where this virus came from and holding the Chinese government accountable, they were able to shift the focus away from her, away from the misdeeds of the Chinese, to evil white racism, to fighting against prejudice, because the most important thing for you guys out there in the world to understand is that it's better to be spied upon, it is better to have your system rigged against you than be accused of being an evil white racist.
And even aside of that being true as well, evil whitey has been the narrative for well over a decade now. And if people have been pumped full with white people bad, white man evil, right? Like all badness, sins of the father kind of nonsense. It's much easier to throw out a narrative and be like, well, this is the fault of white supremacy, than to question the Chinese lady who is spying on you, right? It's a much easier narrative to accept if you've been used to hearing that kind of rhetoric.
So yeah, this woman was able to wield this influence. Who knows how many people she was able to bring into the operation, how deep this goes. And by the way, you guys can very much expect to have similar influence operations in all 50 states, regardless of the party that is currently governing.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I was like, how many more of these Chinese spies are in places that you just wouldn't think they are? And just because they're Chinese spies, I would not imagine all of them are actually even Chinese. Right, because that would be too obvious. That would be way too obvious if every single one of them was a Chinese person.
Of course, all the different diversity initiatives and all that align better with the Democratic Party. And in this particular case, because Cuomo was so heavily promoted, her level of influence was more devastating than any other operation that was influencing any other governor at the time. But it could be that this is going on right now in your state, under your nose. This is just the person who ended up getting caught.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think I'm exaggerating the devastating impact that this woman had, not just on New York, but our country as a whole?
I do not think he's overstating
there's a lot to it, and are you going to be tuning in to the trial? Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me. The support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a Chinese spy infiltrating New York State. Till next time.
That was a really interesting video. Let me link it in the chat. That was a really interesting video. That's what we just watched by Actual Justice Warrior. That was really good, really informative. I liked it. Sean does good work. Yeah, I don't think I've watched a video from him before. I mean, maybe I did on like the corrupt super mayor lady. I can't remember, but that was a good video.